Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So something that mm, has come up over the last few weeks is that it's been clear to me that some of you have been using this lockdown time to go more deeply into this inquiry and this exploration of what it means to be the self. And this is very, very good. I'm very happy for you. I know that some of you are still working from home and so on. Maybe you could just quickly give me a wave if you are still in lockdown, if you're staying to yourself and quiet. Could you just give me a little wave like this? Okay, there's a few of you. The rest of you are still able to get around and do your ordinary business and so on. Is this true? Okay, still working. Of course, we don't know what's going to happen now. It seems that there's a more input, more impetus right now for some of our societies to close down a little bit more once again as we head into the fall here, into the cold weather. I just heard this morning that Great Britain is going into a lockdown for the next month once again. And this is also something that looks like it's more um, likely around large parts of the US as well. So I just wanted to remind you that when this happens, if you feel yourself being uncertain, unsure, not knowing what to do, I just wanted to remind you that this is a very good opportunity to go more deeply into the inquiry, to sit a little bit more, to keep a little bit more quiet, to come into a more simple way of being. For all of us, there are opportunities in our own lives, regardless of the external circumstances, for us to be more busy at certain times and less busy at other times. And one of the things that it's important for us to recognize is when these waves are happening, and not to be too disturbed when we find ourselves in the middle of an energetic wave, requiring us to be a little bit busier, a little bit more external, a little bit more involved with our work, with our families, with the people around us. And then just to be aware and be patient, not to be too disturbed when this is happening, but also not to identify with it, and know that soon the next valley will come. The wave rises, the energy comes, and then it falls. And we can see this in our own minds when we are meditating. We can see this when we're doing the inquiry, that everything that comes stays for a while and then goes. And so we don't need to fret if we're feeling a little bit busy, a little bit put upon maybe by circumstances, because we have a firm knowledge that soon this wave will subside and we can once again sink deeply into the simplicity and the silence of our own being. One of the ways that we know that we are making some uh, headway or progress, if you will, it's not really progress, but it feels that way, that we're making some progress with the inquiry, is that we become less reactive to whatever is here, to whatever is passing. And by less reactive, I don't mean that we don't feel emotion or that we don't experience difficulty. What I mean is that in the midst of emotion or difficulty, we are still aware of ourselves as awareness, as consciousness. We're still aware of this kernel of silence which lives within us. And so while we experience fully whatever is here now, we also recognize directly that this is passing, this difficulty, this sadness, this joy, this happiness over some external event. We recognize at all times that these experiences are passing, that they are impermanent. And what gives them definition is the self, that which is aware. And we begin to notice over time that this way of being that we call inquiry enables us to be aware of this kernel of silence, which is always here, regardless of circumstance. And over time, while we still feel deeply, the sense of reactivity begins to diminish. This is one of the ways that we know that we are settling into our own stillness, and we become more and more able to just rest there, even as the circumstances unfold before us. This deep witnessing quality is the place where we are able to understand fully, I am here, but this I is not the I which is disturbed, reactive, and uncertain about what is happening in life. This I is peaceful, calm, loving toward oneself and toward the circumstances. When this begins to happen, we experience the end of reactivity. There may still be a momentary upset of some sort, but we quickly settle back into this recognition. I am that which is aware. So I see now that there are still some people coming in. So welcome. We had a little bit of a glitch this morning. So if you're wondering what happened, uh, yeah, even with all this technology and so on, I still didn't get the timings right in some of the announcements. So welcome. We had to start a little bit earlier because I put the wrong time. Well, I put the right time in the one of the announcements, and then put a different time in another announcement. So I apologize for that, and welcome for those of you that are just arriving. I will try to get that straightened out by the time we have the next satsang. So whether you are still in solitude or whether things have returned to normal a little bit more for you, I know that those of you who are in India are able to move around and have a life that's more familiar to you now. But no matter whether you're mm, still in your cave by yourself or whether you're rejoining some sense of normalcy in your life, your interest still needs to be focused in what is aware. This is the way of inquiry and the way that I'm constantly recommending to you all that you use everything. So, whatever your circumstances are, find a way to realize that you are the one which is aware, whatever the circumstances. Let things come and go more gently and more easily. Noticing, like a temple bell, that you are aware through your experience. Your experience is not mm, what makes you aware. Your awareness, that which you are, is what illuminates your experience. In the traditional way of being, based on conditioning, based on habit, the circumstances dictate how I feel. This is the way that we normally operate. But once we begin the inquiry, we begin to see, becomes possible to understand that it is the awareness itself which illumines the experience and makes it possible, whatever that experience is. So now, our commitment is to recognizing and realizing that which is aware in every circumstance. So our attention shifts from that which is happening around us and in us, in our minds and bodies, to that which is before all of that. And we slowly or quickly begin to realize that this awareness which I am is what is illuminating all of my experience, waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And we begin to settle into that recognition, that witnessing quality. And by doing so, we free ourselves from the conditioning and the habits which we thought we were. and we begin to realize, I am that which is aware, being, consciousness, and bliss. So, welcome. I see a couple of more people have joined now. Welcome to you. There was some confusion on my part around the starting time this morning, so we ended up starting a little bit ago. I'll get that worked out by the next satsang, but welcome to you, those of you that are just arriving. I've been talking a little bit about the way in which the inquiry shifts our attention from the external, from experiences, from mind, from the experiences of body, toward the recognition, I am that. This happens quite naturally if we allow time for it. There is a way of thinking in Advaita that says, I don't need to do anything. I am already awake, and I don't need to do anything. I can just stop taking responsibility for everything, and I don't need to make any effort. But this has not been my experience. So I will just share that with you. This has not been my experience. In working with people over many years, and in my own experience, I've seen that the mind, the attention of mind, does not naturally want to stay in the witnessing state, does not naturally want to stay in the recognition, I am that. In Vedanta, this quality of the mind to not want to stay with its own nature is often referred to as veiling. And it's said that the mind has this quality, this ability, and that this is a very subtle quality, this veiling quality. By subtle, it's meant that we don't even notice when the mind begins to veil through experience, through identification with experience. This recognition, I am that, or I am here, or I exist. This veiling quality ultimately leads us into believing, I am this experience, I am this pain, I am this sorrow, I am this difficulty, I am this joy. And then as we become more and more distracted, this veiling quality leads us to identifying with experience alone, causes us to forget, if you will, that I am this witness. I am that which is aware of this experience. So I point this out to you to help you realize and recognize when this veiling quality is present in your own mind. We often experience it as just an identification with circumstances, with whatever is here now. We're no longer witnessing what is here now. We are now reacting to what is here now. This is how we know that we need to make more effort If we don't do this, the tendencies, the samskaras, will just continue to rise. It's not until we meet the tendencies, the conditioning of the mind, head on and recognize that we are that which is aware of the tendencies, or the tendency which is present in this moment. Once we begin to recognize this, we undercut, we start to remove the reactivity in our own mind. If we don't do this, remove this reactivity, what happens is the samskaras tend to rise back into our experience, and we tend to say, oh, that's okay, everything is fine, I am awake, it's no problem. And then we give it power again. The samskara is fed. But by recognizing this is samskara, this is judgment, this is fear, whatever it is, by recognizing the presence of this and then using this to reflect back on the awareness which is seeing this. Ah, this I, which is the self, knows that this samskara is here, knows that fear is here, knows that judgment is here, knows that opinion is here, knows that defensiveness is here, whatever it might be in that moment. This can be used then as a bell of mindfulness, you can say, to return to the recognition that I am not this samskara. I am that which is aware of this tendency. By remaining aware of the tendency and returning in this way through your own effort over and over, you come to understand that the tendencies, the mind states, if you will, the veiling quality of mind begins to get less and less, becomes more and more and more fine, and eventually just disappears. And you remain as awareness in all of your experience. This is the purpose of applying some effort. Otherwise, if you make no effort and just say, well, I am already awake, so no problem, and yet you still find yourself disturbed by your circumstances, disturbed by others, and so on, there's nothing wrong in that. You have not failed. You just need to apply this effort again to understand that when you are the self, everything flows and fits in a very peaceful and calm way. And this sense, this reactive quality of mind disappears. Now you're able just to allow people, circumstances, the world, everything to be as it is, recognizing that you are that which is aware of all of this. And in this way, because there is no reactivity, you are able to open your heart and to embrace whatever is here now, in the full understanding that everything, this body, mind, and world, is coming and going in its natural way. So now you cling to nothing and you reject nothing. You simply are this, and you remain as that. Still engaging, still loving, still compassionate. Seeing the waves for what they are. but knowing that you are the ocean. The ocean is not disturbed by the hurricane on its surface. Be like this. Come to know yourself in this way. You are free. All right, who has something? Anyone? Please turn on your microphone if you'd like to speak. So I'd really like to encourage you, if you are in a country, and especially in Europe or in a state in the United States, and you find yourself facing a stricter lockdown for the next month or so, or maybe through the winter, I really want to encourage you to look positively on that if you can, and to take this time as an opportunity for you to go more deeply into the space of your own being. Right now, in many of our countries, there's especially, I don't know about where you are, but here in America, there's an increasing level of fear coming. But this fear is what we are not. And even though, for the sake of others, we can take the precautions that are being recommended, we don't need to accept this level of fear, which is rising right now, here and in Europe. It's best for us as Sadaks to remember that we are here wherever we are as a beacon of light and awareness, as an open heart in the midst of uncertainty. Even if no one else knows that, even if that's not recognized by our friends, family, and neighbors, if you know who you are, then you are a blessing to the world. This is what it means to be that which is aware. This is not a personal thing. This is a no thing. To be the light of the world is to offer yourself, your small way of thinking and being, for the good of all, by remembering and resting as the self, here and now. The circumstances are not your business. You are the light of being.